Oos! 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 Ladies and gentlemen, for good reasons, we have here our leader, our Oos, because he now is a champion once again. And I said this here last week and the week prior when a number of different people from KOW have been on. When I think of the Mount Rushmore in KOW history, this man is on that list. And once again, he proved why. And certainly it was one of the more biggest surprises, I think, in the entire world of professional wrestling in 2022, as we saw him at the historic 10-year anniversary show for our very dear friends over at KOW, the most successful show in the company's history. And of course, he won back the trophy that pretty much was his trophy when you think about the history of KOW. And that is, of course, here our guest. So let's get into it. And of course, we'll speak some Odyssey Pro Wrestling with him as well. He's always a part of things there. And so let's further ado here on the Sports Report, number one, the Sports Show, the reigning, defending KOW Showcase Champion, the Cambrian Outlaw, Rick Marcus. The champ is here, my friend. Congratulations.
Thank you. Awesome. Start there as always, mate. I don't know how you have that energy all the time, mate. Fair play.
You know what? I didn't even know I was gonna have it either, and then I thought about it. You messaged me, and I'm like, you know what? This is the Cumbrian Outlaw, Rick Marcus. I gotta find the strength. I gotta find the energy. I gotta reach out because this is not every day you get to speak to a champion like yourself, and especially somebody who's on the Mount Rushmore of one of our favorite companies all time here on Sportswire Radio. And it is, of course, KOW, the company that you have pretty much helped build. And champ, congratulations. Obviously, this was something that we did not expect. We had RPD right before the 10-year anniversary show. We had ALP on, and we had Lucy to kind of break it all down. But, I mean, talk about what it means to you to once again be the reigning, defending KOW Showcase Champion.
Yeah, it means a hell of a lot, you know, and it was one of them, you know, when I walked away back in April, I think it was, after wrestling RPD, like, yep. in my mind, that was it. That you know, that 100% was it. And then this opportunity presented itself, and it was too good to turn down. I had unfinished business. I wanted to make sure that I'm whatever I'm doing it on my terms, and there was no opponent for Keenan, and like you said, I'm the first ever Showcase champion. I'm the longest reigning ever Showcase champion. I never actually lost it. I relinquished it when I became the dual champion. So it just made sense. I'll let the lads borrow it for a few years and keep it warm for me. It's time to come and pick it up. You know, that's all it was. Popping back to my hometown to pick up what belongs to me.
You know, I felt like when it comes to KOW, and I'll get to a special comment for a guest that's going to be on here in a little while. But, I mean, I always felt like in a lot of ways, and I know I said this to you when you came on last, but how could you not be a part of KOW, even if it was just to be a fan, to be there in attendance? And I know you obviously, it's always tough, right? Because obviously different things go on, and certainly we had you on. It was kind of more of a emotional, maybe a more reflective Cumbrian Outlaw Rick Mark, which none of us are used to. But I felt like in a lot of ways, KOW couldn't go on without you. And is that fair to say, you think?
I think KOW would have been just fine without me, to be honest. But it's one of them things, you know, I have been a big part of the company. And like you say there, I am a bit more mellow, a bit more laid back. Just go with the flow a little bit now, you know, that over intensity is kind of, you know, maybe for the better. I've kind of left it behind a little bit now. So it was nice, just to come back and the appreciation from the fans. And I spent the longest time there with them absolutely hating me, and rightfully.
Listen, that's why like this whole like last year where like the fans are now behind you. Like even for me, I mean, I remember having you on the first time almost 2 years ago now, literally, and it was like it's weird. I mean, I'm trying to get used to it. The Cumbrian Outlaw, Rick Marcus.
Yeah, I've come on quite a journey personally, and the things that used to bother me in the past don't bother me so much anymore, and it is what it is. I still felt like I had something to offer there. I felt like I was always going to be going back to my hometown anyway, and the opportunity presented itself. And I missed the place. I missed the place more than I thought I would. I missed the KOW fans and the people there. So yeah, it was just the right time, and I'm kind of glad to be back. And let's see where this run takes me, because if I thought I'll be back, I thought it might be for the odd show now and then. Never say never, but I've come back and won a championship, so I guess I can't just piss off again now.
Well, you're the champion now, the Cumbrian Outlaw, Rick Marcus. I mean, you can't leave us now. I mean, you are the champion, and it's especially a title that you've never actually lost. So I mean, you have to pretty much be here in KOW. But enough about that for a second. Let's get to a few comments. I want to first bring in ALP, of course. Love ALP. You know how much ALP means to us here on Sportzwire, and especially KOW. He'll be back before the year is out. He says, "Evening, gentlemen."
He's wrapping my presents as well while he's listening.
Wow. Well, I'm glad I'm glad that we're giving him actually something to, I guess, let his mind go on and wrap these presents and give him something to talk about. So always love ALP. And of course, everybody can follow ALP on Twitter and Facebook at ALP Streams. Also, BMD is here. Of course, BMD is somebody that will have an announcement for tomorrow on the air. But I do want to get to our guest at 9 o'clock, or a little after that here. That is, of course, the GT Ministries World Champion, Disciple, who's going to be on. And he says, "Good evening, gents. From one champ to another. Good to see you, Rick. Hope we cross paths one day." Listen, never say never. Anything can happen. And Disciple is one of my favorites, and he has probably the best spine buster in the business. So I
agree. I hit
his spine buster. I mean,
not nowhere near as good as he does. He's a great wrestler, a decent guy, and So I 100% hope our paths do cross at some point for sure.
I got a good feeling about that. Listen, never say never, and Disciple is definitely one of my favorites, and we'll get to him in a little while. But I do want to talk about, obviously, one thing that we just touched upon, and I want to come to a couple of different current events in KOW. The Ronan Brian Ainson had a few comments about you. We'll come back into that as well. But do you feel like in a lot of ways maybe you've come full circle in your career? Not so much in the fact that obviously you've always been a champion with the Showcase Trophy. You've been a dual champion also. But like in a way the fans have now come and they've respected you. They've an appreciation. You haven't always had the relationship with that crowd in Barrow. And obviously the wars with Steel come to mind. But I mean, do you feel like in some ways, at least your relationship with that crowd in Barrow, that fan base in KOW, maybe things have come full circle?
Yeah, absolutely. It was definitely a full circle moment, and I put something out on social media beforehand from 7 years ago when I last held the championship to now, how much my life's changed, how much I've developed as a person. And the fans were glad to see me. A lot of them people know me on a personal level there as well. And during the interval, when they were waiting to take pictures, we were sat there taking pictures for half an hour. The interval was only meant to be 15 minutes. It was really nice, really gratifying. I've got, like I said, I grew up in Barrow. I moved away from Barrow 2 years ago.
We spoke about that. Listen, I had you on the first time, literally now, just about 2 years ago. I remember it like yesterday when I spoke to you. It was in January of 21. So we're talking now just about 2 years.
Yeah. So it's always nice to go back, and it was good just getting the respect from them. But I was respectful back for, things have changed. I'm not as angry as I used to be.
Well, you don't have any reasons to be angry because you are, of course, the reigning defending KOW Showcase champion. And you are the Cumbrian Outlaw, Rick Marcus. And I want to give a comment here to Mother Sue, and love Mother Sue, by the way. And I want to give Mother Sue a big shout out because she actually direct messaged me on Facebook last week and wished me a happy U.S. Thanksgiving. So she says, Hope Minds a large present ALP, and she says hello to us. And ALP also says, the people of Barrow may not have always liked you, but they knew hard work when they see it, and they respect the Cumbrian outlaw Rick Marcus, and rightly so. How do you feel about a comment like that?
No, it means a lot. It means a lot from ALP as well. It's like Andrews, he's the man who's been running the show since day one. And to be fair, I've been a pain in the ass to him at times. We've always
respected. Are you sure you want to say that now to ALP? Are you sure you?
Yeah, no, I like to wind him up. He knows that, but he's always been awesome at me. He was the first person that gave me a chance in wrestling, and and I just think it's important to never forget where you come from. And it was a nice moment, like at the end of the show and everything that he's gone through. So at the end of the show, to see the reaction when Lucas Neon won the championship, obviously when I won the championship earlier in the night, and then Lucas win, and I've never heard an explosion from fans like that, and I know that must have been really gratifying for Andrew after the show. And afterwards, I went out, gave him a hug because I'm proud of him and it was really true. And he's one of the reasons why I did come back, because, like I say, he's always been awesome to me, and I know what, I make sure that I carry on supporting, Knockout Wrestling.
And, of course, we love our friends over at KOW. And please, everyone, give a follow to KOW on Facebook at KnockoutW, KO_wrestling on Twitter, also Instagram, K_O_wrestling. We love everything that KOW does. And I want to talk about, obviously, the event itself. And we'll come into Brian Adenson, and we'll come into some of that in a second. But let me ask you, in terms of, if I would have said to you, let's say during COVID, or even when you were kind of in your prime where you were running things here with the Showcase title, that we would have had the attendance and that overall just feel that we had for the 10-year anniversary show. Is this because this, I think, was the most successful event in the company's history, and kind of almost like a celebration of everything that KOW has done, all the moments. You've obviously, again, been on the Mount Rushmore, but do you feel like in some ways that this was the most successful show in the company's history?
100%. Yeah, there's been some incredible shows, over the years. The anniversary shows are always a massive ones, and it was a special night for so many reasons. I've had like some great matches, anniversary shows. I've lost the championship. I had my rivalry with Sheriff Steele. We've done 2 Sheriff Rules matches on there. It's like, there's so many incredible moments, but to come full circle and win the Showcase Championship back at this one, and then with the reaction and everything, and coming from a total different headspace, didn't think I had anything to prove or anything. I know what I'm about. It was just, the whole event was absolutely incredible. And like you say, Andrew got the unsung heroes up there to, thank them for everything they do as well, including Mother Sue's an absolute legend. Like, seriously one of the best human beings in the world.
Yeah, I want to give Mother Sue another big shout out, because I know we spoke about Mother Sue countless times on Sportswire, whether it was with you, whether it was with Steele, Lucas Neon, obviously, the unhinged Will Carter. Could never forget about the unhinged Will Carter. I mean, you can go up and down the KOW roster, and I really feel like that with the energy that Mother Sue puts in, obviously with the buddies, just her overall support and everything that she does, it's people like Mother Sue that have helped KOW to survive. Because, we've always spoke about this with KOW, and KOW is, to me, different than any other company, even Odyssey or any other company that we've spoke about here on Sportswire. KOW has not only survived, but thrived because of the people, because of the community, because of people like Mother Sue have put their time in. There's something special about this company, and I really believe that she's one of the reasons why we've thrived over the years.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And like you say, it is a community, and it's like the fans that come, like, a good 75% of them, the same people that come to each of the shows, so they know the stories that are going on, and it is an incredible community. And so many wrestling companies come, they're here for a short time and they go. To be consistently, either being a sellout or close to sellout for 10 years, like running shows.
It's not easy. It's not easy to do that.
In a small town. It's incredible. It's incredible what they've done. And, KOW is starting to get the recognition it deserves now. Obviously with it not being in a big city and being out in the sticks a little bit, and not having a massive internet presence. It's kind of one of the best kept secrets in British wrestling. And like, there's, between Barrow and Morecambe, like there's not fans around.
No, listen, there's something special, and that's why we continue, of course, to love and support our friends in KOW. And ALP is trying to butter me up here because I know ALP is coming back before the end of the year.
Did I make him cry being nice to him? That's what I was trying to do.
I'm not trying to make anybody cry, but he's trying to butter me up. But you don't have to butter me up. I'm certainly not one of the unsung heroes of KOW, but I do appreciate the sentiment, of course, and everything that we love here to talk about in KOW. We had Lucy on, obviously. We were recapping the show, but enough about the sentiments about me, because it's not about me. It's about you, the Cumbrian Outlaw, Rick Marcus, because I want to come and address now the Ronin Brian Aidenson, because I'm sure by now you heard some of the things that the Ronin Brian Aidenson had to say. And obviously he had some war here in the knockout or tap out match with, of course, your brother, your tag team partner, the natural born fighter RP Davis. And certainly he definitely made, I wouldn't quite say his intentions clear toward you, the Cumbrian Outlaw Rick Marquis, but he definitely showed that he had a few actions towards you, and he definitely made, I guess, his declarations that he doesn't like you in KOW, and wanted to now give you the opportunity maybe to respond to those actions and some of the words that the Ronin Brian Aidenson had for us here last week in your spot on Sportswire Radio.
When it comes to the Ronin Brian Aidenson, look, I'm not going to lose any sleep over him. You know what I mean? Bless him, he jumped me from behind, gave me a bit of a kick in, and then he was going to hit me with the brass knuckles that unfortunately he managed to sneakily do on RPD the match before. But then obviously RPD comes out, keeps an eye out for me as I do for him, and it's one of them situations. Look, if he wanted to fight me, he should have just come out and asked me, and I would have happily, thrown down with him. And he's a tough guy, He's
very tough guy. I mean, he's legitimately a badass.
It's a shame that he had to actually resort to that kind of bollocks against RPD, really. RPD, he's one of the best about. He's one of my best friends, and he's like a brother. But it's one of them situations where on his day, Brian could have proved to everyone just how good he is. But what he has proved is that he's a complete chicken shit. And if he wants to fight, come and fight me. I'm not hard to find.
So then, so help me out, because I agree with you. The Ronin Brian Aidenson, he's a tough guy. I mean, he's definitely somebody that can throw his weight around, and he's definitely got some skills. I mean, so if he would have just said, you know what, I got this win over RPD, whether it was correct way or not correct, but we even talked about the William Regal influence. We talked about all the different things that kind of how he was able to pull out a win here, pretty much a rabbit out of a hat, you might say. But if you think that the Ronin Brian Aidenson would have said to you, you know what, yeah, I'd like to have a shot at you, whether it's on March 11th, the next KOW show, or anywhere else, you would have said, yeah, sure, no problem. So you're basically telling us he didn't have to resort to attacking you afterwards.
Oh, he should have just asked. The thing is that, like, I'll fight and I'll defend against anyone. I'm not scared, but I'm also not an idiot. I know he's a tough guy. There's a chance if me and him did fight, and wrestle, he could potentially beat me. But he'd know he'd been in a fight, and like, to be fair, it's a shame because he's wasting his potential with these underhand tactics and that. And like, I don't judge him. Christ, I did it for years in KOW, and I was pretty successful doing it. So, you know what I mean?
You were very successful. You were extremely successful.
But if he feels that that's what he needs to do, he's got a legitimate fighting background. You know what I mean? Sometimes
absolutely.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm a tough guy, but sometimes I like to just make sure I was ahead of the game. I wanted to win at all costs, and like, I just didn't care about who I hurt in the process. I feel he could be doing it a different way. He's made it personal against RPD. I think that might have played into it a little bit. I don't know if it really was.
Well, I was going to be my follow-up.
It might have just been to, get under RPD's skin, which is a shame because he'll get his head kicked in eventually. Like, he's you play with fire, you get burnt eventually, don't you? And he's definitely picked the two of the wrong people to mess about with.
But you did say something interesting, because I actually had a slightly different take, because you said getting under RPD's skin, but I happen to think he's trying to get under your skin with those tasks, because I'm pretty sure I asked him that question here on Sportswire Radio in your spot last week, and I actually think that the Ronin Bryan Anderson is playing mind games, because I believe that he played mind games successfully with RPD and was able to get one over him, and I think if he makes his intentions clear that he would like the trophy that you hold currently, that he's trying to do the same thing here. I mean, what's your thoughts on actually that theory that I have?
Do you know, I get it. I get it. It's all, you know what I mean? He's trying to play mind games and that. He's trying to play mind games against the best player of mind games ever in knockout wrestling. So, like, he's wasting his time. Do you know what I mean? It's like, try and get him ahead. Honestly, like, I'm too old and too ugly to give a shit. Do you know what I mean? Just if you want to fight me, ask me. We'll sort a time and a place and we'll do it.
And I want to give a shout out to a very good friend of ours that is certainly a big thing, a part of things in another wrestling company, our friends over at Wrestling Championship Entertainment here in the great state of Wisconsin in the Midwest in the United States. And that is, of course, Mr. Craven Rage. And Craven Rage says, I would love to give you guys a shout out. You guys do some amazing work. So certainly, Mr. Craven Rage, who's a champion in his own right. He is pretty much the world champion there in Wrestling Championship Entertainment. He is the reigning, defending Universal Grand Slam Wisconsinite champion there. And he'll be back with us Monday night, which will be Tuesday morning UK time. And he's tuned in here. So I want to make sure I give him a very, very big shout out. He'll have a lot to talk about. And I want to make sure everybody follows Wrestling Championship Entertainment on Facebook at WCE Heat, also YouTube as well. But I want to come back for a couple more minutes to KOW, because I do want to talk to you about Odyssey Pro Wrestling, because we had the unforgettable Andre Decker, somebody you might know very well, obviously, in KOW and some other places, because he had a few other things to say about Odyssey Pro Wrestling, and I'll get to those in a few minutes. But when it comes to KOW, now that you're the champion, and we spoke a little bit about Bryan Anderson here, and I kind of feel like that there might be some business there, maybe between you eventually and him. I'm not sure what it'll be, and obviously RPD, I guess, is still in the mix of things there, because obviously he made the save for you. But what would be your goals this time in your run here as Showcase champion? What would you want to do? I would even say maybe even differently than the prior runs.
Less pressure on myself. That's the main thing, you know. I do want to be the best. I always want to be the best, but it always came at a cost. And I don't think I particularly enjoyed my first run as much as I should have. And that match back, winning the Showcase Championship, that was probably the most fun I've had wrestling in a long time, because I didn't put any pressure on myself. I was going there to have a good time. And yeah, and the thing is as well, like, I'll just keep defending it until eventually somebody can beat me. You know,
well,
and then,
so far when you've been a Showcase champion, as you've correctly pointed out in the prior times and here tonight on Sportswire Radio, nobody has actually beaten you for this trophy. So technically, you would be, I guess, the most successful champion in wrestling history of all time, because you actually never lost the title. I mean, you've never lost this championship.
Well, I think if ALP's still listening,
well, he is listening. I've got a couple of comments from him as well. So go ahead.
I think he likes his stats, ALP. So when I started in Knockout Wrestling, I won the Showcase Championship in my first 6 months or something like that, and then I went on to win the championship. So I think I went about 3 years without losing a championship match or something, 2.5 years or something without losing a single championship match. So, you know, they're the matches that I thrive in. You know, they're the matches that I absolutely live for. You know, so it's, you know, who's to say I won't get another run at the very top again? You know, as much as I respect Lucas Neon, you know, I'll happily take that off him as well. Do you know what I mean? Dual champion again, who knows? But to be honest, there's only one title that I've never held in Knockout Wrestling, and that's the tag team championships, and that's, you know, it's only been here for a couple of years, and my tag team partner's only been here this year. So, you know, and he's had his thing going on with Brian. So that might be something, you know, for us to look into?
Well, I've got a couple of comments here. In fact, I've got a bunch of comments from ALP because he certainly has something here he wants to say. So let's go first with, I think, the main comment about Mr. Raidenson. Myself, and I guess it's kind of hard for me to say this, your friend, Commissioner Steele. It's kind of hard for me to be able to get used to this. I'm sure you're kind of getting used to this also. It says, are enjoying our well-deserved end-of-year break, but we are keeping an eye on the Ronan, Brian Ainson, and yourself. We won't be able to confirm anything till next year, but keep your eyes peeled. And, of course, we'll have more coverage of Sportswire Radio before the year is out. And, of course, ALP will be back with us in the house at some point. I want to make that announcement. So we'll definitely make sure that that's going to happen here. And he also said, I believe you were 11-0 in title matches in KOW before Nightmare came along. And it was
I lost that because that was ALP's fault as well.
Well, that's why he wanted to also remind you it was 2.5 to 3 years, I think. But he did have a question that I actually was kind of thinking about, a similar type of question. I was going to phrase it in a different way, but I'll bring it up here because he is ALP. Do not feel the need to rush this question, but what do you think would be more of an achievement? Being the first ever 2-time Showcase champion, or capturing the tag titles and becoming the first ever Grand Slam champion? What's your thoughts on that?
Being the first ever 2-time. Well, I guess now that I've already done, the fact that I'm the 2-time Showcase champion, but capturing the tag team titles and becoming the first ever Grand Slam champion, that'd be the pinnacle. That might be the moment when I can say, look, I've done everything, literally everything you can do there. So I think being the first Grand Slam champion, it's an incredible company, and I always want it to thrive. But then, you want your personal accolades as well, and and going after the tag team championship is something that I'd 100% be up for. And there's only one person to partner with me, and we've been pretty successful everywhere else. In fact, we've got a 100% record as a tag team at the moment. No one's beat us yet. We've had our TLC, championship tournament matches, Kingdom of Wrestling. We won the main event at TNT Ignition at the last show. So, and as ALP saw in the interval of Knockout Wrestling, we sat at ringside and literally about 250 people came and had the photographs taken with us. They want it.
Oh, the fans love to listen. We've seen that in the past at KOW shows. I mean, the fans love the two of you. I mean, you guys literally, of all the, and I'm not just saying it because you're here and RPD is tuned in, but I mean, literally, when I think about the wrestlers that I've had on Sportswire Radio, and it covers the gauntlet. I mean, it covers all over the world at this point now, because we brought up some other companies here. Also, you guys legitimately, I see you with pictures with, you name the fans, you name the amount of fans, or just people love you guys. You guys are just something, there's a relationship that the fans have with you guys that I can't really explain it, but it's a relationship that I think very few wrestlers have, frankly.
Yeah, no, I totally agree, and it is one of them things where, look, at the end of the day, professional wrestling is about the fans. They're paying their hard-earned money to come to the shows or bring the kids along to the shows to enjoy it. Do you know what I mean? It's not about getting pats on the back, in the back of people and that. It's about making sure that the people that have paid their money to come and watch a wrestling show have a fantastic time. And, literally shaking their hands, talking to them, coming down their level, having conversations with them makes their night and makes whatever money they've spent to come and have that, come and watch that show worth it. Now, that's what it's about. And if anyone's not in it for that, then for me, they're in it for the wrong reasons. So, that's why, when pictures go up and it's like, yeah, we know that all the regular fans in Morecambe, Barrow and that, we know them all, first name terms.
We spoke about some of them here. I always think about Louise. I think about just so many different fans that it's just different. When the relationship that you and RPD have with the fans, whether it's in KOW, whether it's in Odyssey, whether it's in the Kingdom of Wrestling. Now I want to make sure I give our friends over at the Kingdom of Wrestling a shout out, TNT Ignition. I mean, you guys are just something there. And obviously RPD is tuned in. He says hi, of course. He's always here with us at some point. RPD, of course, love RPD. ALP has the hashtag Born Ready, and we are definitely Born Ready here on Sportswire Radio. Speaking with, of course, the Cumbrian Outlaw Rick Marcus, who I want everybody to follow. Everybody should follow the Cumbrian Outlaw Rick Marcus because not only is he one of the best wrestlers in the history of KOW, one of the best wrestlers, period, on Sportswire Radio's history, but he's also doing a phenomenal job in his day job, if I could say, because he helps so many people transform their lives. He's almost a life coach. He's always positive. The Cumbrian Outlaw Rick Marcus, despite his ass kicking, despite everything he does, he's always, every time I read him on Instagram or Facebook, always something positive to say. We need more people. He's almost like the DDP of UK wrestling in terms of the positivity and just telling everybody to shape up. And he's always saying the right things, always surrounds himself by the right people. So you should be surrounded by him also. The Cumbrian Outlaw Rick Marcus on Facebook, Rick Marcus1 on Instagram. Please support him. My name is the Reverend Tom Bryce. I am the host of the Sports Report and the owner of Sportswire Radio. In about 25 minutes or so, we will have on Disciple, the GT Ministries World Champion. But in the meantime, we are here with the Cumbrian Outlaw Rick Marcus. And I want to ask you this last question for now on KOW, because I really want to talk about Odyssey for a few minutes, because there's a lot on my chest I want to get off when it comes to Odyssey, especially Decker and some other things with you and RPD in a second. But when it comes to your career, this is kind of a general question, but I know ALP kind of asked the question. I was going to ask it in a different way, but when you look at your overall career, I know we've spoke about some different moments. I've asked you this question a couple of times, but how does this moment rank 2 weeks ago at Cloud9 in the Lounge compared to the rest of your career moments?
It's definitely up there with the best. There's been a lot of really.
I know you've had some big moments. I know it's a tough question because you've obviously been a dual champion. You've had the wars with Steel. You've had the wars with a number of different people. I mean, the ladder matches and everything else in your career. But I know it's a tough question. But
I think I think the show last Saturday was the most no, what's the right word? Like almost the most serene. I can't think of the word, but like it was very gratifying. It was like I just felt at peace afterwards. Do you know what I mean? That was probably the most at peace I've ever felt while wrestling. You know what I mean? I took all the pressure off myself. There's been other massive highs, and even Louis' birthday party was one of the best ones on his birthday.
I remember speaking about that with you. That was a big deal.
And we did the 6-man tag, and he came in and got the pinfall and that. You know what I mean? They're special moments. It's not just about championship wins and coming back to Odyssey at the last show and hearing the crowd after a year out. That was amazing. The matches with Sheriff Steel.
I mean, listen, I realize this, and I realize there's different moments at different times in one's career because there's been different things that mean something for different reasons. Not so much with titles, but I thought it was a good question to ask here.
I think I'd say right now within my wrestling, I'm not trying to get booked everywhere. I'm just doing my thing. And it's the most content I've ever felt wrestling. Obviously earlier this year, I was going to walk away completely, but I love it. And I don't want to walk away completely, but, I like you said before, that, there's a hell of a lot going on in my life at the moment. And, it's like, I just want to wrestle at the places that I enjoy and I feel happy being at. And I can concentrate on other areas and everything. It's just about, personal growth, personal development, and, and doing the thing I like. You said about it, all the posts that I put up. It's just about doing what you enjoy, and like when you don't enjoy it anymore, walk away. And right now, I feel very happy, very content, and with the culmination of it being the 10-year anniversary show and everything, it was just a nice moment. It's a shame I had to travel back straight afterwards, and I didn't get. It was about 5. It took me about 5 hours to get home in the end, so I was driving and everything. But it was like it would have been nice to just stop and put my feet up and have a beer with the guys that have become great friends over the last 8 years.
Well, you know what? Listen, you still had that moment. You still had the moment with those fans, and certainly we're happy that you were still wrestling and you were having all the success and a lot of fun. And sometimes they say in life, when you have less pressure and you just go with the flow, that's when you do better. So certainly I could see that you live by that approach as well. And RPD has a comment before I move on. He says, "Not a person on the planet I would rather run at the KOW tag titles with my brother Rick. Give Born Ready the opportunity. We will do the rest. And P.S. The mustache is a look. I was gonna, it's funny. I was thinking about that the last couple weeks. I'm like, should I bring up the mustache with the Cumbrian Outlaw Rick Marcus? I mean, I know for most people it was Movember, people with the mustache, but I think you had the mustache look before that. But I mean, I do kind of like the mustache. I think the mustache is a good look on you. I know you had the Stone Cold look before, but I think the mustache is good. I think it almost kind of it gives you like a new, maybe reborn. It's a refuel, reignite Cumbrian Outlaw Rick Marcus, to quote some of those posts on Facebook and Instagram. I mean, I think you should keep the mustache. How do you feel on it?
Well, there's been mixed reviews. So I've got about a week's beard growth here, so the mustache is longer. You can't really see it on the.
I noticed that. I need
to shave it and leave the mustache later on for the end of the month. But I think, look, the next month's Christmas. I'm going to be having a few beers and probably a bit to eat and that, and like it might come a bit, so I might need a bit of fluff on the old chin just to.
Well, whatever. My advice: don't do it like this, because at this point, I was in a bar last night and somebody pulls my mutton chops and they go, "Wow, when did you start growing this?" And I actually said to them, I was like, "Well, let me think about it. December 2018." They were like, "Wow, you ever thought about cutting it?" Well, I'm like, now I can't, because everybody knows me. And when I obviously do these at this point, actually, I think somebody said it best. A friend of mine says, Tom, I don't think I'd recognize you if you shave. So at this point, I think you don't want to take this approach. Take the approach that you're doing here. And I'm sure the big guy, Jolly Old St. Nick, will definitely take care of you at Christmas. But I want to talk about Odyssey Pro Wrestling here for a second. Our very dear friends over at Odyssey Pro Wrestling, because I love speaking about Odyssey. And we're actually not too far away from the next Odyssey show. It's about 2 or so months or so from here. And obviously, you and RPD are going to be a big part of things there. And wanted to get your thought on the landscape of things in Odyssey, and maybe with your brother, the natural born fighter, RP Davis.
Yeah, it's there's a lot going on at Odyssey at the moment. There was meant to be a show this Saturday coming, but obviously with the World Cup and Tyson Fury, who's from Morecambe, he's boxing on the same night, and at the time we didn't know if England would be playing that night or the Sunday.
So you don't want to interfere with the World Cup.
No, do you know? And
by the way, I was very happy that America and England tied, because with Brian Adenson, I actually said go England in the interview. So I'm glad that I could still stay in my own country, because there were people that messaged me and actually said, "Why did you root for England over America?" But I said, well, I mean, practically everybody on Sportswire listens to us from England, and I kind of have a special sentiment there for everybody in England. So I'm glad there was a tie there.
The US battered us. Like England were up to it that night, so it was a good game.
I was glad that did a tie, but I see the point on why we couldn't have an Odyssey show. That's
I'm glad you're through at the next round as well. But yeah, Odyssey, the last show was my first show back since I appeared in April. After Hunter decided to join the Spotlight and attack RPD.
Yep, we did the run-in, I remember.
I was meant to be wrestling for the championship in June. Yep. Unfortunately, I had a little bit of an incident, which Decker knows fine and well what went on, but I couldn't be there that night. So
understood.
I still haven't had the championship match. But then in October, Decker had been calling me out. Him and Brooke had been saying I was retired, and it's far from it. So I came back, made light work of him. You know what I mean? He needed a kick in, he got one. And then Born Ready entered the tag team tournament and faced the Freak Show later on the same night. So I'd gone from not wrestling in a year to wrestling twice in one night. And it was awesome. We're through the semi-finals now, which are going to be taking place at the Overboard Rumble. So I'm excited.
I want to ask you a question, and it's a slightly similar question in a way, but you said something interesting about Odyssey. I want to come back to Odyssey in a second, but it's overall in terms of the fact you go from not wrestling for a while to wrestling twice in one night. I mean, what was that like in terms of just overall, like for your body and such like that? Because I know that we've spoke about this in the past, but I'm so curious in the fact that you haven't wrestled for months, and all of a sudden you wrestled twice in one night. What was that like?
Do you know what? It wasn't as bad as it could have been because there was a lot of adrenaline pumping, and Decker had got to me that much that it was never going to be a wrestling match. It was going to be a fight, and
I remember we spoke about you and him. I remember the last time you came on,
and that's what it was. There were a lot of slams and wrist locks. Do you know what I mean? We were just throwing fists, and eventually he got hit with the spear and pinned. Do you know what I mean? So and then. The tag team match was fantastic as well, but to be fair, RPD did a lot of the legwork for me that match as well. Because do you know what I mean? We're a team, do you know? And it's like he's been wrestling a hell of a lot all over the place and absolutely smashing it. So he was in fighting condition, and he knew I weren't totally match fit, you know. So, when the time was right, I was brought in, we got the job done, and we move on. And and there's a hell of a lot of work going on behind the scenes at the moment. I'm in one of the best conditions I've ever been in my life. I've got a good balance of strength and stamina and everything at the moment. So I feel good, and I think going into February, whoever we face, whether it's Reese and Rogan, Synergy, or Sam Bailey and Rob Drake, to me, it doesn't.
Some really good tag teams in Odyssey. And this was something we spoke about in the past with Lucy, of course, Lucy Simons, who you see in KOW in Odyssey Pro Wrestling. The tag division in Odyssey is just, it's just phenomenal. I mean, the Freak Show, obviously, the KOW tag team champion, Synergy, are the LWF tag team champions, Sam Bailey and Rob Drake. There's pretty much nothing further to say about them and what they bring in the ring, but and you guys as well, who are undefeated, by the way, in tag team competition. I mean, this division is just stacked. And Reese and Rogan are a part of things. I mean, it's a really just like, it's a damn good division straight up.
Yeah. It's one of the best about. I think, Rob Drake and Sam Bailey, they've kind of been brought together as a,
mutual alliance type of thing.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? It's like they've kind of come together and they're actually doing and they're doing great. But the two of the best wrestlers about. And but when you look at Reese and Rogan, you look at Synergy. For me, they're the best two tag teams in the country. Like I can't really think.
Yeah, you know what? I mean, I've seen Synergy quite a bit in the LWF, and that's where I've really gotten most familiar with their work throughout the year, just because we do a lot with the LWF and. Nate Reese is obviously a part of it, done some stuff here in Odyssey, but I mean, what Synergy does in the LWF and elsewhere, I mean, we even saw them on Progress, if I believe, not too long ago. They've been on the WWE Network. I mean, what Synergy has done is just phenomenal. I mean, what those guys bring to the table, they're no easy out.
Yeah, well, you know what? We're not stupid guys, me and RPD either. No, we get it. They're tag team specialists. Do you know what I mean? Like Synergy and Reese and Rogan have been tag teaming together for a long time. That's what they
absolutely.
Do. That's what they do. Like all the shows they're on, they're tag teams and the tag team champions everywhere. I think they've got about 7 lots of tag team championships between them. They're champions everywhere, the pair of them. And we recognize that, in tag team wrestling, they're much more experienced than us. And to be fair, me and RPD are singles wrestlers. But when the time's right and we need to, we come together. Do you know what I mean? That's what we do. And, so it's one of them things. We're not tag team specialists. We're just two singles wrestlers.
Actually, I got a better phrase for it before I get to somebody else I want to give a shout out to. You guys are just two straight up ass kickers. No, it's not just you guys are single stars. No, you guys are just two straight up ass kickers. And I have a good feeling that in Odyssey Pro Wrestling, you guys are going to do some big things here. And I want to remind you, we're about 10 or 15 minutes or so. We'll have Disciple on here, but I want to spend a few more minutes here with the Cumbrian Outlaw Rick Mark because I want to dive in for a few more minutes into Odyssey Pro Wrestling and a few other things here. And I want to give a shout out to our very dear friend, the lawman Kyle Kennedy, who we've seen in places like GT Ministries, Nonstop Action Wrestling, and Blackheart Wrestling. And he is Mr. Sportswire himself. He will be back on here before their show coming up at Nonstop Action Wrestling's Nuclear Winter on December the 17th. So always love the Lawman Kyle Kennedy, what he brings to the table. Also has a vlog out there on YouTube, the Lawman Kyle Kennedy. Please make sure to follow that. But when it comes to Odyssey, and I think I asked you this question about unfinished business, but going into the Overboard show, I mean, obviously we still see this whole situation with the spotlight and management, Brooker and Ethan Edwards. Decker pretty much has told Ethan Edwards just to not bother, not show up anymore in Odyssey. He wants him still. I mean, like, what do you make of this whole situation still with the spotlight? Obviously, we've got Ryan Hunter, the champion. We've got Reese and Rogan. We've got Brooker, we just mentioned. Decker, who was with us last week, who was, I guess you could say, not maybe the most jovial mood he's been in since I've had him on in 2 years, which is obviously saying something for what it's worth. But, I mean, the landscape in Odyssey, how do you guys fit into it, and what do you make of the situation still with the spotlight, and how do you guys maybe plan to kind of counter it?
Well, firstly, I'm not surprised Decker's not been very jovial. He's making a habit of getting his ass kicked, so like he's not going to be too jovial, is he? But no, I got his tag team championship in KOW. I'll give him some credit. He is a tough.
He had the belt with us, and he was reminding everybody I'm the first 2-time tag team champion and everything else. So he made sure that the world knew about it.
Yeah, he gets the job done, you know. It's but the whole spotlight is kind of running amok a little bit now, you know. And like I said, RPD made a promise that he's going to go through them all one by one, and that's exactly what he's doing. So, you know, I think, you know, at the end of the last show, there was myself, there was RPD, Synergy were out there, and we got rid of the spotlight. They were all out there. Brooker was there, and you know, it was one of those situations where RPD was ready to strike, and he basically chose not to. Do you know what I mean? He chose not to and hit Decker instead. He could have finished Brooker there and then. It's just about biding our time. They'll be gone eventually. You know, there's only so many sneak attacks and so many times you can get away with it. But there's a bit of a revolution starting against them now. You know, you seen the old NWO WCW crack. You know, they've been running the show the last year. They're not running it anymore. You know, RPD's been batting them all off, but.
He told us a while back, he did tell us, the Natural Born Fighter, RP Davis, that he was going to find a way, one by one, to even the game up with the spotlight. And he seems like he's got a shot there.
Oh, big time. And the thing is, their tactics was make sure I'm out of the way as well. Do you know what I mean? When they realised and saw that I made that save, Decker made sure that there was no way I could have ever got to Morecambe from a championship match. You know, and it's one of them things. It's starting to collapse in on him a little bit now. You know, Reese and Rogan, they've got a chance at the tag team titles. They're not going to be getting past us. You know, the Rumble, myself and RPD. You know, one of us will win it. If to be honest, that's even if we're in there and waiting for the call. You know what I mean? But it's one of the.
Wait a minute. I got to ask this because you said something that I totally didn't expect to ask, but I got to ask it. You mean to tell me that you and the Natural Born Fighter, RP Davis, haven't got a call to be in the Rumble 2 months from now?
The thing is, you know, there's 2 general managers there at the moment, and they've got to come to some kind of mutual consent. And the thing is, obviously, Ethan's happy for us to be in there, but Brooker's doing everything in his power to make sure that we can't get anywhere near his little prize pony, Ryan Hunter. So, you know, there are a few issues that we've got to deal with to get in there. You know what I mean? There's politics in wrestling. And,
I mean, that's some politics, to say the least. I mean, we've heard, obviously, famously, political stories about different people, but I mean, that's one that really is might be a new one I've heard, that basically you and RPD basically aren't agreed upon to be in the Rumble because Edwards and Brooker have to sign off on this. I mean, this is one I haven't quite heard before. I certainly hope it gets resolved.
Yeah, so do I. And if, you know, that's the time will come. It's crumbling down around them. Decker's been beat by us both. If we come against Reese and Rogan in the tag team tournament, we're going to get rid of them. And then there's only Hunter left, and there's only.
And you guys certainly have had success against them in the past. Obviously, we spoke about the ladder match in the past last year with them. So certainly, you guys.
3 of the teams that are in that semi-final.
Yep,
we're in that, and that was an absolutely crazy night. And
that was. I think I might have had you on after. I know RPD and I spoke about it, but I have to say that might have been one of the more crazier matches in the last year that we've covered on Sportswire, especially in Odyssey. That was still one of those matches. But I want to ask you this question before I get to closing thoughts and ask you another question and staying here on Odyssey for a second. But when it comes to, let's say, if you had the opportunity to win the tag titles in Odyssey Pro Wrestling, what do you think that would mean for you?
It'd mean a hell of a lot. I've never won a championship in Morecambe. I've been close, and that's from when it was Alpha Omega.
I remember speaking about the old Alpha Omega days with you.
I've been wrestling there for 5-6 years, so it's one of them things where it's like all the success I've had in knockout wrestling, I haven't had that success in Morecambe, and I absolutely love it in Morecambe. The fans are absolutely incredible. So,
the fans always loved you in Morecambe, regardless. The fans, you had something. You in Morecambe. I mean, to me, it was almost like it was a natural fit.
Yeah, it was somewhere I used to visit a lot as a child. When they had Frontierland and all that kind of stuff, and yeah, it'd mean a lot, and the opportunities there, and it's something that we're going to be grabbing with both hands, and like I say, they're tag team specialists, but we're working on a lot of stuff in the background as well. Do you know what I mean? We're not going in this naive. Our attitudes and our willing to fight won't just carry us.
You guys in fighting. I mean, listen, you guys pretty much all you do is fight. Listen, I think literally, they call you guys born ready. I think you were born to fight. I think when you and RPD were born and came into the world, it was pretty much, well, okay, you guys are going to be designed to go out there and fight. You guys are going to know to lay out some hands. You guys are going to just know to kick people's ass. There are some people in life you could tell they were just born to fight. So I'm going to say you guys might be born ready. RPD said a few minutes ago, reborn ready. I think you guys were just born to fight. Hashtag RPD and Rick Marcus, born to fight. So certainly those are some of the things that I certainly want to point out there. But I also wanted to say when it comes to Odyssey Pro Wrestling and just going into 23, I mean, what would your goals be for 23?
Tag team championship and get my championship match. They're my two big goals. Where, win the tag team championship tournament, have a long, successful run with that, and get the championship match that Decker took away from me earlier in the year, and what'll be, will be. Like I say, if I was in the Rumble, I'd say I'd be getting it at War in the Shore because I'd be winning the Rumble and going on. But that's not guaranteed. But I'll get there eventually. I'll find.
Well, I'll tell you what. We got 2 months until the Rumble. We literally have, I believe, it's 2 months this Saturday that we're going to see the next Odyssey Pro Wrestling show. And I want everybody to follow Odyssey Pro Wrestling while I have a chance to plug Odyssey Pro Wrestling. That is at OPW_UK on Twitter. Odyssey Pro Wrestling on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Please support Odyssey Pro Wrestling because Odyssey Pro Wrestling, again, another one of our beloved companies here on Sportswire Radio. So please make sure you support them. They also have a Patreon page where you can get involved with Odyssey Pro Wrestling. So Odyssey Pro Wrestling really does a phenomenal job. Everything that Odyssey does, if you love KOW, if you love GT Ministries, if you love the LWF, if you love all these other companies, go out there and support Odyssey Pro Wrestling. Odyssey Pro Wrestling has always been one of my favorite companies to speak about. I'm not just saying it because the Rick Marcus will kick my butt. No, it's because we love Odyssey Pro Wrestling here on Sportswire Radio. So I want to make sure everybody does follow Odyssey Pro Wrestling here for sure. And I just have to say one more thing on Odyssey before I get to closing. Look, I know you're a busy man. You've got interviews left and right. You've got stuff. You've got posts to work on. You've got training sessions. You've got asses to kick and stuff like that. But I mean, when it comes to Odyssey, I mean, I find it still hard to believe that you would not be in this Rumble. So I have to ask you, is there anything in particular that you might want to say to anybody in Odyssey Pro Wrestling that may be listening to this?
When it comes to Ethan and it comes to Brooker, they can't ignore us. It's as simple as that. We're going to go into the tag team match. We're going to kick some ass there, At the end of the day, we can only do what we always do, and that's turn up, kick ass, and leave. So it's like the rest is kind of up to them. You know what I mean? If they put doors in our way, we'll just be I was about to swear then, about an F there, but like we'll just kick it down. Do you know what I mean? Put many barriers in the way. We'll knock them down and keep moving forward. So, rumble or no rumble, the spotlight are going to be coming down. It's as simple as that.
I think the spotlight are definitely in doo-doo. I think that knowing you and the motivation that you're in right now, I think you're at the best state you've ever been. I've had you on several times over the past 2 years. I think the frame of mind you're in right now, the condition that you're in, I just think right now you're almost at the prime of your career. I would not want to mess with you right now. You've got gold in KOW. You're looking for gold elsewhere. I think right now you're poised for a big 2023. So something tells me here right now, if I'm in Odyssey Pro Wrestling, if I'm in Chris Brooker's shoes right now, if I'm in anybody's in the spotlight shoes, especially Decker, Reese, and Rogan, and the champion for now, Ryan Hunter, I would certainly want to tread very, very lightly here. But I know you're a busy man, and I obviously want to give you some closing thoughts. Anything else you want to plug, share, say? It could be anything else you want. And obviously, I want to thank you for all that you do for us here on Sportswire Radio. I want to thank you for all that you do in the community. You've helped so many people's lives be transformed. I see every day a picture of somebody you've helped in terms of you see them in one picture, then you see him in another picture. And so you've done probably more outside of wrestling, I think, in terms of shaping people's lives. And I think people would realize. So if you want to say anything about that, of course, please plug that as well. And I turn it over to you now, my friend, and fire away. And the floor is yours.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate that. And obviously with that side of things and what I do there, I am a transformation coach. And, if people are in a position where they are struggling and, they've been all or nothing on it or off it, and just never had that, that set road to get them where they want to be, then, reach out. I'll happily help you out. We're coming to a new year and, motivation alone isn't going to do it. So it's about learning about yourself, learning your triggers, building habits, building discipline. And that's what changes your life. That's what's changed my life. And that's something I try and help people with every day. So, no, like I said, there's not much more for me to say, really. I really appreciate your time as well, Tom. People listening might not know, but we were meant to be on yesterday. I had a last-minute emergency we need to sort out. You were very accommodating and helped me out.
You're the Colombian outlaw, Rick Marcus. You think
I appreciate that, though. Do you know what I mean? It's like, we first spoke, Christ,
2 years ago. Just about 2 years ago.
2 years ago, middle of COVID, and that, that was before Odyssey was all going and everything. Yep. So, you've it's been fun. It's been fun. And to be fair, it's like, when I don't do all the wrestling shows anymore. It's like, when it comes to podcasts and that, like throughout lockdown, there's quite a lot of them. There's only really yours that I come on now because I actually just enjoy sitting down and having a chat with
you. I appreciate that. And I have to say that I appreciate that because that's why we get so many people that want to come on Sportswire, because people say, oh, I get asked to do these different podcasts with these different people, but they say, Tom, I want to go on yours because you actually follow us. You see what's going on. You want to talk to us. You don't want to talk to us about like WWE or anything else. You really like support us, and AOP's comments confirm that, and obviously Disciple is somebody else we've also become, close with. But I really sincerely appreciate that because that's what we want to give everybody a shot. We want to give everybody a floor, and we believe in what you're doing. We believe in what RPD is doing. That's what it's all about. At the end of the day, you always want it to be genuine. So I appreciate it because knowing you're a big man. You're also a busy man. You're a busy man. So for you to take time out of your day and to come on with us, I really appreciate that. Feeling is definitely mutual. And of course, everybody, please follow the Cumbrian Outlaw, Rick Marcus. Rick Marcus1 on Instagram. Rick Marcus on Facebook. Please support him. Anything that you can do. And of course, ALP says, 2 cracking guys and a great listen. Lots of love to you both. And the feeling is mutual, my brother ALP. And I definitely look forward to speaking with you here soon. And Merry Christmas. Let's go England in the World Cup. Let's go Tyson Fury. I'm a big Tyson Fury fan, by the way, because I've seen him obviously at WWE shows, and I always like the fact that he's very spiritual. He talks about different things. So he's a guy that I'm definitely rooting for. But I'm also most importantly rooting for our brand new KOW Showcase Champion, the man who's on the Mount Rushmore of KOW in the company's history. That is, of course, the Cumbrian Outlaw, Rick Marcus. So listen, thank you as always, my friend. Go lift some weights. Go kick some ass. Go help some people in their life, because you are almost like the DDP, the Billy Banks of the world. Of course, Billy Banks was the Tybo guy years ago, and he was always like Mr. Positive. So go help somebody's life. You're going to transform, I'm sure, 10 people's lives today. So thank you as always, my friend. God bless you. Merry Christmas, and I'm sure I'll speak with you in 23.
Thank you so much. Merry Christmas to you as well.
You got it. And that was here the Cumbrian Outlaw Rick Marcus, who just 2 weeks ago won once again the KOW Showcase Champion. He's, of course, the first ever multiple-time KOW Showcase Champion. He's also a dual champion, and we will see him back in the ring in 2023, also a part of things here in Odyssey Pro Wrestling. And my name is the Reverend Tom Bryce, and we're about to be joined now, ladies and gentlemen, Oos! 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 Ladies and gentlemen, my tribal chief is finally here. And ladies and gentlemen, I know if you heard Monday's show, you are certainly going to want to hear what the champ has to say. The champ is not going to be in a good mood. I've even seen some in GT Ministries push back on what some of the people had to say in here on Monday's show. So let's get right to him. He is the most dominant champion in all of professional wrestling. He is on a whole nother level. You better join his wrecking crew, because if you don't, you're going to certainly get wrecked. So without further ado here on the Sportzwire, number one global sports show, the reigning, defending GT Ministries world champion. His name is The champ is here. The champ, how are you?
So I'm not going to lie, I've been better. I've seen the comments, and I've seen I saw the ridiculous message that Killjoy, Lovejoy, whatever his name is, put out on Monday, and yeah, I'm not in the best of moods.
Understood. And I understood. I even got pushback from Ben Hall at GT Ministries. And Ben Hall was basically saying, what are you doing with this guy? But he wanted to talk about it, but enough about Dan Robertson. I have Disciple on here, of course, our tribal chief, and certainly he is our head of the GT Ministries table. And certainly Dan Robertson would want nothing to do with you. But I do want to talk, because obviously it seemed like the Nonstop Action Wrestling locker room on Monday was basically calling you the invader and the outsider, the foreigner, whatever you might want to call it. But I look at it right now, Disciple, it's going to be the wild card Tommy Dillon who's going to be on the ropes December the 17th, because I think the Nonstop Action Wrestling fans and their locker room especially has forgot what they saw you do to the likes of certainly Pride, who was on the stream, and especially Dave Douglas, and most especially Bentley, who you basically took him down, and then most notably the reigning defending former champion, Gareth Angel, who's no longer the champion. That's why you are the champion. So, I mean, what do you have to say to these people? Because I feel like at the end of the day, these guys might just be jealous and they wish they had your spot.
Do you know what, Tom? It's exactly that. It's jealousy. You know, getting called an outsider. Listen, no matter what company you go to, you're going to be an outsider. If you want to make a name for yourself in this business, you're not going to stick to one place. You're going to go here, there, and everywhere. And that's exactly what I do. I go around and I beat people up and I become the best at what I do, which is why I've got this and they haven't.
You know what? And that's what it comes down to. You're the guy with the gold. And we spoke with you before the last GT Ministry show. And one of the things we said was now all of a sudden people are going to be sniping at you. People left and right were going to want the title from you. And that's what it seems like to me. And it almost, I think, is maybe, correct me if I'm wrong, maybe this is sour grapes from some in the locker room. Because a lot of people, if you remember in the locker room, were basically, they were snipping at Gareth Angel. They wanted Gareth Angel. They basically were calling him out. Dan Robertson was one of those people. Look at what Gareth Angel and Jack Johnson did to him. We saw people left and right in that locker room call out Gareth Angel. But the only guy to really get rid of Gareth Angel and wipe him off the face of the earth and get rid of him was you. So I think, in a lot of ways, Disciple, that those people wish they could have did to Gareth Angel what you did to him.
Absolutely. And the thing is, it's all well and good talking a talk, but you've got to back it up. If people are going to open their mouths and run their mouths and say they're going to do this, they're going to do this, they're calling people out, then they've got to back it up. The thing is with me, I called Gareth Angel out. I told Gareth Angel, and I told every single person that was watching, that was listening, what I was going to do. And guess what? I did it.
Oh, you did, and some, because we haven't heard from Gareth Angel, and who knows, we may never hear from him again. So I think, and again, this is just an objective perspective here, my tribal chief. But I mean, to me, the way I interpret it is that in Nonstop Action Wrestling, for months, they called out Gareth Angel. They all called him out, but yet they couldn't get the job done. But you were the guy that was able to do it, and you were the guy that was able to do it with ease. And I think it also goes back to some things that we heard from some other wrestlers. Even the guy that you took out last, Bentley, even said this, and certainly Slugger Hampton had said this, and some other people had said that these guys were basically new kids on the block. They were these new kids who just basically got off the training wheels, and they're trying to make a name off themselves. And I think the wild card Tommy Dillon is certainly somebody that he's going to find out what you're going to do to him next. And what would you like to say to the wild card Tommy Dillon, who I have a feeling, by the way, has just tuned in?
I hope he does. I really hope he does. Now, before I get on to Tommy, I just want to say, all these little romper stompers that have been in the business for 10 minutes running their mouths. Listen, if they've been in it a little bit longer, then I'll probably respect them a little bit. But until then, they need to shut up, listen, and do what they're told. And if that is me coming in and slapping the smile off their faces, then I'll do exactly that. Now, going on to Tommy, don't get me wrong. I've got a lot of respect for Tommy. I really do. Unfortunately, he's kind of backed himself into a corner, and then he's got this match, which I really don't think he wants. I think he was running scared. He thought this was an option to maybe boost his profile, to become, as I've said before in my post, to cement this, the winner of this match on the 17th of December at Nuclear Winter. This person, whether it be me, whether it be Tommy, we are going to cement a legacy as one of the best champions in the area, without doubt.
I think in the world, no, not just in this area here. I think in the world, because how many wrestlers right now are multiple world champions? And there's very few, if any at all. I think this is a big deal here right now.
Absolutely, and I respect Tommy. I like Tommy.
I like Tommy Dillon too, personally. I do like him, but I think he. Go ahead, champ.
I just think he's probably bitten off more than he can chew, because, like Gareth, it's all well and good saying, yeah, I'll fight you. It's all well and good saying it, but he has to bring it. Now, I know for a fact Tommy will bring it. I just don't think he knows what I'm capable of. That's the issue.
Well, I'll tell you what, Tommy Dillon here has something to say. The wild card Tommy Dillon, who, of course, is the Nonstop Action Wrestling world-class champion at the moment. He says, "What's up, suckers? How you doing? D, keeping my title clean." Any response there to the wild card Tommy Dillon?
Well, my title is sitting very nicely on my lap here, and my other title that I'll be winning shortly, I hope is being kept warm, ready, and make sure you best be polishing it up real nice to put on my other shoulder right here.
Let me ask you this question. And I know we spoke in the past before you wound up winning the GT Ministries World Champion. And one of the things you had said was that you would have gold within a year. And you actually shattered that within ease. You did that in really a couple of months. But now to all of a sudden, let's say on December the 17th at Nonstop Action Wrestling's Nuclear Winter, where you can go to NSA Wrestling UK for more information on, that you would have the opportunity to hold not only one, but two world titles. I mean, what would that mean to you on a personal level?
Everything, and like I said, this match is huge in terms of proportions. It's huge for me. It's huge for Tommy. It's huge for wrestling. As you quite rightly said, Tom, very, very rarely will you see someone become a multiple champion of multiple companies. When you've got that title, when you've got those titles and you're representing different companies and you're going around and you've got those belts, that means something. That means that's special. That means you are someone. That means that you've proved what you are, what you say you do, how good you are. And listen, like I say, it's going to be a great match between me and Tommy. I'm really, really looking forward to it. I can't wait to punch him in the face and just make him regret his decisions, really.
Well, the wildcard Tommy Dillon has a response. He says here, "For the record, I'm not Gareth Angel. He's an angel. I'm the thing that Satan won't even dare open the door to." What do you make of that?
I'm not called the devil's right hand for nothing,
I think that's why he was calling himself that.
I will go to places that people won't even dare to. I look what I did to Gareth Angel. No one would dare do that in Gareth's house. No one would do that in a church. But guess what? I did.
Well, how about what you did to Pride, Dave Douglas, who's no chopped liver, and certainly Bentley? I mean, how about what you did to those three individuals? I mean, I think right now those individuals would certainly agree that you're right now no joke, and you're certainly definitely the devil's right-hand man.
Listen, the winds of change are coming. Yeah, there's a new era. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I'll say it until I'm blue in the face, Tom. There is a new era in professional wrestling. There's a new era, and that is the era and the reign of Disciple.
Well, I'll tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, you want to follow Disciple Wrestler. Please follow him on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Make sure you join the Wrecking Crew. Make sure you join this man, because right now he is the head of the GT Ministries table. And come December the 17th, it looks like he's going to be ahead of the Nonstop Action Wrestling table as well when he takes the World Class Championship here. And I'll come back to Tommy Dillon in a second, but I do want to address GT Ministries, most notably at the last show, because one of the things I noticed, it was almost like the Disciple show. I mean, you open the show right afterwards, you have a match, and then certainly you made claim and laid to the wayside Bentley, who's certainly the vigilante of pro wrestling, but it seems like we have a new alliance in GT Ministries that I saw here with Drill, and certainly tell us about it, and certainly also tell us basically where we go from here with some of that.
Well, as I've said for a long, long time now, Tom, you should always have a backup plan, and you should always have a backup plan from that. Now, I've been watching Drill from afar, and for a long time, I've seen him become a joke in GTM. The crowd are laughing at him. He's being stupid, prancing around the ring. I've seen Drill become an angry, violent person, and that's the Drill that I want. He is much better than what he has been in GTM, and I want to bring the real Drill out. And listen, you saw it there, Tom. I put my hand out and I said, I will get that Drill back. I will get the Drill of old back. And that was the start of it.
Well, I'll tell you what. I mean, I almost felt like a little bit of a fire in Drill. And I mean, certainly I think also what you did was you put Bentley on notice that, you know what, he's in for a rude awakening.
Yeah, it was quite funny to see his wipe the smirk off his face, you know, as soon as he won that match. And yeah, as you saw, Tom, I took him out. Listen, he can run his mouth again, just like everybody else. But just like everybody else, I'll put them down again. And with Joe by my side, and I've got my sights set on a few others as well.
Well, don't tell us. Don't tip your hand. Don't tip your hand. Don't tell us what you're going to do.
Tom, come on. Do you think I would do that?
No, sir. No, sir. That's why you are our tribal chief here. But the wild card, Tommy Dillon, has a response, and I'd like to bring him up because he is the man you're going to face December the 17th. And certainly the wild card has to say, you know, this match has been on a bucket list for a long time, which I actually would agree with. This is a match a lot of people. I've been covering wrestling in the UK for 2 years, and this is a match I think I've even mentioned is something I'd like to see. We were meant to face each other years ago, but I guess fate aligned, and the match just had to be golden. Let me ask you a question in a different context. Is it maybe meant to be that this match is happening now where both of you guys are world champions? Well, let's say it could have happened in different companies. You guys have obviously been veterans. You guys have been in different places, and maybe it would have happened, but maybe it wouldn't have happened with maybe as much spotlight or attention. Do you feel like in a lot of ways that this was maybe meant to happen the way it's happening now, or what's your thoughts?
I think it makes the match more special when you've got. Listen, me and Tommy have been doing this for a long time now. Two veterans in the game. It would have been a great match without the titles, without the championships, but just to add them into the mix. I'm a world champion. Tommy's a world champion. This is just going to be an absolute beast of a match. And I can't wait for November the 17th. December.
And, well, so it's your Disciple. Dates, it doesn't matter. I know one thing, though. in about 16 days from now, we are going to see, I think, one of the biggest matches. I know we've got World Cup going on around the world. We've got Tyson Fury out there, but you know what? This is the match. Just put all your stuff down. If you can, please go out there and buy a ticket to the Be Strong Performance Center there in Swinton. If you can't, like me, go to Instagram, NSAW Wrestling UK, where you can watch this match live. You can also support Nonstop Action Wrestling on Facebook. You can also support them on YouTube and Twitter, because this is going to be the match that is going to pack a lot of punches between the wild card Tommy Dillon, for now, the NSAW World Class Champion, and also now our reigning, defending head of the GT Ministries table, the world champion Disciple. And I want to ask you a slightly different question. I was thinking about this the last couple of days, and you're probably going to chuckle about what I'm about to tell you. Well, maybe you won't, but I look at it right now. You're on top of the world right now in GT Ministries, and you're about to be on top of the world in Nonstop Action Wrestling. And the Playboy Prince, Lance Rivera, just won not only the Vertigo match in KOW, he also won the crown over there at Kingdom of Wrestling there. He beat RPD, and he's the Wrestle Island World Champion. I mean, would you have thought, let's say a couple years ago, that you and pretty much the Playboy Prince Lance Rivera, your old riding buddy, would basically be like the guys right now in 22? I mean, I thought that was kind of a notable thing, which I'm sure you took notice on as well.
Yeah, it's I think the stars have aligned. That, you know, Lance is an absolutely incredible talent, amazing wrestler. Listen, I must be good if I've got a championship belt and I'm close to having my second one, if all goes well on my way at Nuclear Winter. But when I win the title on December 17th, down the line, and I will push for this as much as I can. I don't care if it's Wrestle Island. I don't care if it's Kingdom of Wrestling. I don't care if it's Knockout Wrestling. I don't care if it's NSAW. I don't care if it's GTM. I want that match with Lance Rivera. Double champion versus double champion.
Oh!
Sell out anywhere.
Listen, wait. If you think about this, double champion versus double champ. You know, everybody last year talked about Kenny Omega and all the titles he was collecting. FTR's got, I believe, 3 different tag team titles and 3 different promotions. But the fact that we could actually see double champion versus double champion, I mean, this is unheard of. I mean, listen, if I'm right now in Wrestle Island, if I'm right now in the Kingdom of Wrestling, if I'm in Nonstop Action Wrestling, if I'm in GT Ministries, I might want to prepare for that. No, by the way, the Playboy Prince Lance Rivera, he's also going to be there at Nuclear Winter, and I'm sure he's going to hear this, and I'm sure he might actually agree with this. I mean, this is something that the stars could really align. You and Lance Rivera, after your relationship with him, I mean, you could be having 4 titles coming up here in the near and distant future.
I mean, I'm not a fairy tale person. I'm not into all that crap, but that would be a fairy tale story. We trained together. We started in the business together. We came up in the business together. We've tagged together. We've fought together. And now we're at a place in our careers where we've won so much and we've defined ourselves as great champions. That for me is an absolute money maker. And like I say, I don't care where it is. I don't care what promotion puts it on. Disciple versus Lance Rivera. It's got to happen.
Oh, that's good. Let me tell you something. That you forget about what you did to Gareth Angel. Forget about what you did to Bentley. Forget about what you're about to do to Tommy Dillon. The Playboy Prince, Lance Rivera, and you, that would sell thousands and thousands of tickets. That would have social media engagements like nobody's seen before. Because when the Playboy Prince, Lance Rivera, speaks or he does anything, you know everybody drops their stuff. So you think about what that could be as a possibility. You know that is something that we're going to definitely push here on Sportswire Radio. And the powers that be, the promoters that are out there, if you're listening and watching, which I know you are, definitely start thinking about when you could book that match, because that's going to happen soon. Oh, by the way, if your KOW's ALP, because I know we had Rick Marcus on, the Cumbrian Outlaw, and Disciple also knows the Ronin Brian Ains, and he has certainly a history with him as well. You very well might want to consider booking Disciple because he's going to have not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 championships come March the 11th. So you want to make sure that you do. But I got a whole bunch of comments in here. First, I got Dan Robertson, who I know you really don't want to see this comment. It says, "Hi, Gingy. The lawman Kyle Kennedy says, careful, Dan. He's a big, angry boy right now." So the lawman Kyle Kennedy, who's going to be back with us before the 17th, he certainly is kind of giving some advice to Mr. Dan Robertson. Also, he says here, by the way, Jack Johnson, who is also a champion, the former GT Ministries champion, couldn't do quite what you accomplished. That was get rid of Gareth Angel, but he is the BTW champion, says, "I want a rematch, you big loser." And by the way, he's got a title on his shoulders, I see. Maybe could we make that 5 championships?
That's another one I'd happily take away from him.
And listen, I know Jack Johnson. I know him very well. We've obviously known him in the past in GT Ministries and other people. I like to think he's the better version of Davey Getzky, by the way, the far better version of Davey Getzky. But 5 championships, I mean, listen, book it. Just book it at this point. If I'm Jack Johnson, just hand over the title.
Yeah, I mean, he's listen, he lost this. He couldn't hack it. He couldn't stick with it. And very shortly, if that's the attitude he wants, I'll happily fight him for his BTW title as well.
Well, I'll tell you what, you got comments left and right now, so let me get to it, because people now seem to be fired up about you. Certainly, they know that the champ is here, and that is Disciple, of course, our reigning defending GT Ministries World Champion. The lawman Kyle Kennedy, Mr. Sportswire himself, says, "Forget about what you're about to do to Tommy Dillon. Nice to see you writing our champion off that quickly," meaning yours truly. Well, I mean, I still say it again, have you saw what Disciple has done? I'm saying this basically respectfully. I like Tommy Dillon. I like what he does in the ring. I respect what he has done in terms of representing nonstop action wrestling. But Disciple's the guy that wiped Gareth Angel off the map. Disciple's the guy that took down Bentley with rather ease with drill. Disciple's the guy that took down Dave Douglas, who, by the way, is no joke either. Look at what he did to Pride himself. I mean, Disciple's on a run right now these last couple of months that nobody might be on right now. And Dan Roberts says, "But bold of you to assume you could beat," I think he meant both of you to assume that you could beat the wild card. But obviously, Disciple, again, I just made my point on that for Dan Roberts in the Cult of Killjoy. Jack Johnson says here, "Don't be silly. He can't touch this belt." Well, I mean, we're going to certainly find out here. Yeah, but you're not me, are you? But meaning you. And he also says, "Tom, you're sure you can read these comments being stuck so far up Disciple's backside?" I'll certainly say I'm just being objective, my friend. It's called being objective, Jack Johnson, and certainly seeing what Disciple did. You know this better than anybody, Jack Johnson, because you're a part of GT Ministries, and you saw what he did to Gareth Angel, and you saw what he did to Pride. You saw what he did to Dave Douglas, and you saw what he did to Bentley, and you know you've been in the ring with Bentley, and you've had your wars with Gareth Angel. I'm just pointing it out here. MX Knights here, of course, who is part of management in Nonstop Action Wrestling, says, "Disciple, I look forward to seeing the home team champion knocking you off that pedestal. Even the society knows to back the home team." Let me ask you a question, and I'm going to be objective for a second. And let me do that here because, you know what? We have Nonstop Action Wrestling here, and I want to be objective and say, do you feel any pressure at all that you're going into, let's say, a home team environment that they have home field advantage, as you might want to say? Do you feel any pressure in that sense that you're not in the Fountains Church in Bradford, but you're rather at the Be Strong Performance Center in Swin? Is that something that concerns you at all in any way?
No. What I say to them is send them all, send whoever they want, send a society. They can send Lovejoy, Killjoy, whatever his bloody name is. They can send Jenny Hayes. They can send Mixed Knights. They can send Lawman Kyle Kennedy. I don't give a monkeys who they send. I will fight anyone. That match on December 17th, Nuclear Winter against Tommy, I make no mistake about it, Tom. It is going to be a tough match. I'm not going to sit here and say it's going to be a run in the park. I'm not going to say it's going to be easy. I know Tommy will bring it because I know he does. But the mood that I'm in at the minute, the run that I'm on, I'm not for messing around. I don't care if I'm in Ensor. I don't care if I'm on GTM. I don't care if I'm Wrestle Island. I don't care if I'm up here in the country. I don't care if I'm down in the country. Anyone, anytime, anywhere.
Conversely, then, would you say that the pressure then, after what you just said, that the pressure is actually on Tommy Dillon because he's defending not only his championship, but he's defending his company's home, basically, his home turf? Do you feel that in that sense that maybe after what you just said, that the pressure is actually on the wild card Tommy Dillon?
Of course, it is. He's the hometown boy. He's the number one guy there. He's Ensor through and through. But at the end of the day, champions come and go. People come in from different companies. If you want to be the best, you will fight anywhere. It doesn't matter which company you're part of. It doesn't matter which company is your home company. If you're the best at what you do, you will go anywhere and you will do anything to be that champion. That is what I'm going to do.
Well, we're going to certainly find out here. And again, I want to give a follow one more time to our friends over at Nonstop Action Wrestling and GT Ministries. Please follow GT Ministries first on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. That is at GT Ministries UK. You can also follow Nonstop Action Wrestling at NSAW Wrestling UK on Instagram. Twitter, it's NSAW, I believe, Wrestling _UK. Nonstop Action Wrestling on Facebook, YouTube as well, where you can watch all great things. And also, I want to give a shout out to Nonstop Action Wrestling very quickly on a personal level, Disciple, because they are actually raising money here for charity. And I think that's important to actually support. And I want to make this announcement here on Sportswire Radio. I know everyone's kind of getting on me a little bit here in terms of who I might favor in the match, but I am going to announce here on Sportswire Radio. I wasn't going to plan to do this, but after we get off the air here, I will make a contribution to our cause here that we are helping out here. I know Jenny Hayes has posted about it. I know MX Knights has been kind of involved in that. So I do give my full support to what Nonstop Action Wrestling is doing for that. So please, everybody, if you can, go to Nonstop Action Wrestling's Instagram page to find out more and to support the company. Also, Disciple, please follow his page as well on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. Just follow this man. Join him on his journey because he's going to collect not one, not two, not three, but four, maybe even 5 tiles at this point. He might even have so many tiles at this point. He might just have to find ways to just store them somewhere and maybe go to a storage facility. I don't know, but we have about 10 or 15 minutes here with Disciple. He's a very, very busy man. He's got interviews left and right. He's got stuff to prepare for. But let me ask you then this question. And I always feel like I ask you this question in a different way each time, but I'm going to ask it to you anyway because I do feel like December 17th, there's something special here. Do you feel like that in a way this is the biggest match of maybe your career and the fact that you could actually have 2 world titles?
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, listen, from when I won my first heavyweight championship years and years ago, it's different this time around. I'm more focused, I'm more committed, I'm more determined than ever before. Once I got that GT Ministries championship, it's filled the hunger within me and it's made me want more. This is a huge match. And just touching on what you just said, Tom, we are raising money for an absolutely fantastic charity. Wrestling aside, we are raising lots of money. So if anyone can donate, please do, because it is a great cause. Very, very special charity. The hospital, the children's hospital that we're raising money for, very deserving of this money. And I'll happily charge people to chop me if that's the case. I will happily do that so we can raise money for those kids. But yeah, that aside, this is a huge match for me. It's a huge match for Tommy, quite possibly the biggest match in both of our careers. And I can't stress enough how determined, how focused I am on this. And for me, it's all or nothing.
Well, we're going to certainly find out if that is the case. Obviously, this is a match we're really, really excited about. And obviously, we've also reached out to Tommy Dillon to see if he would like to come on before the 17th and give his thoughts. So that's up to Mr. Dillon. The ball is in his court. So obviously, we'll see if he'd like to give that opportunity for us here on Sportswire Radio. But I did want to ask you again, slightly similar question. And I've been asking wrestlers this question. I asked RPD this question. I asked Rick Marcus this question. Your old nemesis, the Ronin Brian Anson, this question. So I'll ask you the same question because you've had a huge last few months. I would argue to say that you've probably had the biggest past few months in 2022 of anybody in wrestling outside of the Playboy Prince, Lance Rivera. Of course, your old very good friend there who's going to be on the card as well on December the 17th. But do you feel like in a lot of ways that a win here is just a huge, huge springboard to 23? Because we spoke about so many different things here over the past half hour. We spoke about so many different things with you the past couple months. But I feel like that you're really big right now. But I feel like the 17th, a win here, you almost go into the stratosphere. So do you feel like in a lot of ways that this is just a huge springboard into an even bigger 23?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's the only way is up really. And, all I want to do is win more, become a better wrestler, become a better performer. And, at the end of the day, this is what it's all about. If you're not fighting for this as a wrestler, if you're not fighting to become the best in the company, in the country, whatever, then you don't need to be in wrestling. You're in wrestling. You become a wrestler because you want to be the best. And if you're not wrestling to become a champion, then there's no point you even being there.
Absolutely. Listen, I've heard that over and over and over. You are in this business to be a champion and especially to be a world champion. And right now, to me, the two titles that people are going for in professional wrestling, not the WWE titles, it's not the AEW titles, not the Impact titles. It is the GT Ministries World Championship and the Nonstop Action Wrestling World Class Championship. And Disciple right now is primed and poised to take both those championships coming up here December the 17th here in Nuclear Winter with their event. The main event, again, is the Wild Card Tommy Dillon versus Disciple. And also, I want to ask you this question before we get to closing thoughts and a few things you might want to address to your opponents here. And I also have to feel that the GT Ministries locker room, conversely, is behind you, because I hear everything about the Nonstop Action Wrestling locker room, but I have to imagine that everybody in GT Ministries is behind you, because I think for the company, they would want to have somebody who's holding 2 world titles, no?
Absolutely. And, I made a statement when I won the championship, and you want a champion that is going to do exactly what they say they're going to do. Nuclear Winter, make no mistake about it. This is a huge, huge event. Not only mine and Tommy's match, but you've got the Rumble for the #1 contendership. You got some great names in there.
Playboy Prince Lance Rivera's in action. We just spoke about that. I mean, listen, we've got
Jackson Arrow. Yes, we've got some great names. Obviously, Jenny Hayes has just been announced for the Rumble. Obviously, there's a few guys in there that are doing really well at the minute. So it is a great
Connor Cage is going to be. We're going to see that match once again. A lot of great. Cerebral Steve and J. Rowe Lewis are in the house. I mean, JPR. I mean, it's a really, really stacked show.
It is an absolute stacked card, and that's all the reason. I mean, it's cheap to go and get a ticket and to come down and watch it. I don't know why anyone wouldn't want to come and see it. It's a huge, huge night of wrestling. Some absolutely banger matches that's being put on. Mine and Tommy's aside. I'd happily pay to go and watch the rest of those matches.
So would I. And I'm going to be watching it on Instagram, and I look forward to doing that. In fact, you're going to chuckle, and everybody that's going to be watching this is just going to chuckle. I actually bought a tripod, so I can now actually, instead of holding my phone like this, I can actually put it on the stand and just watch with the chair. So I'm really, really excited about one of the best things I think I've actually bought this year was a tripod. So now I can watch the Nonstop Action Wrestling shows from basically the front row seat of my home and my couch and be able to watch it and not have to lean in. And I wanted to ask you this question before I get to final thoughts on Tommy Dillon and certainly the show before the 17th of December. But I always feel like with a show like this and all the talent that we just listed, whether it's Lance Rivera, JPR, and Jackson Arrow and Billy O'Keefe, Kyle Kennedy. It goes up and down the card. Obviously, we're going to see the triple threat tag team match with somebody you know very well in Young Horace and Dan Robertson, but also the Working Class Militia and Champagne Charlie and the Nomad Dalton Gill and Garrett. It's a great card, right? Jenny Hayes. But I would have to feel like it's a great honor to be in a main event like this, especially for 2 titles, because it's not too often, if you think about it, you're in a main event where you're actually wrestling to be for 2 world titles. I mean, you've been a big time guy. I mean, you've been a main eventer, you've been a world champion before, but I kind of feel like in a lot of ways it's always an honor, no, to be in a main event like this, especially for 2 world championships.
Absolutely, and any time that you wrestle on any show, to get the main event is it's a huge deal. I remember when I got my very first main event, and it was kind of like, wow, these guys trust me to be closing the show and to be setting the essentially that is the pinnacle. That is a spectacular finish to the night, and to be in the main event, it's a huge deal. So anyone that says it's not, is telling lies, because it's an absolute honor to be in main event, and that's when the game steps up.
Absolutely, no question about that. And again, I could certainly see why you said all those things. So obviously, look, I know you're a busy man. I know you have a lot on your plate. So I'm going to give you this last point. So I want to give you the floor before I get to closing thoughts. What are your final thoughts to the wild card, Tommy Dillon, before the 17th of December, Nonstop Action Wrestling Nuclear Winter?
I've said it on here earlier. I've said it many times before. I respect Tommy Dillon wholeheartedly. I like the guy. I've got a lot of time for him. Professionally, we have been trying to have this match for a long time. And I'm glad that it's happened in a Nuclear Winter. And I'm glad that we both have championships. And I'm glad that the stipulation is in place that it's title versus title, winner take all. I cannot be more prepared for this match. This is a huge match, the biggest of my career, no doubt the biggest of Tommy's career. I am looking forward to this so much. I know what it takes to become champion, as does Tommy. But to go to that next level, again, I will do whatever it takes to get there. And Tommy knows for a fact that I'll be bringing a fight to him. It's not going to be a wrestling match. It's going to be a fight. And he knows that. He knows for a fact what I'm like, because he's been around me for a number of years. So, listen, we can all sit here and say, yeah, I'm going to win the match, or Tommy's going to win the match. This is probably one of the closest matches that I probably couldn't call. I'll be confident in my ability that, I'm going to go and win this. But I know Tommy will absolutely bring it. So that's why if people haven't got a ticket, they need to get a ticket and watch this show, because it is going to be immense from start to begin, from the start to the end. It is going to be incredible.
No, I think that there's no question. Leave obviously our allegiances to you and leave all that aside. I know that what I've seen from Tommy Dillon in the ring the past year or so, from what he's done in UKW, what he's done obviously in Nonstop Action Wrestling, but also in GT Ministries. We've seen him in his open challenges. He's undefeated there in GT Ministries. So he certainly showcased himself that he is somebody that is a very worthy opponent. And this is a match that, again, it's objectively speaking, you guys in your careers and what you bring to the table, I mean, it's a match that I think it's going to be one of those matches that it's going to be like this close. Whoever wins is going to be this close. And the lawman Kyle Kennedy, who I want to remind everybody is going to be back with us, I think it's the 15th. So 2 weeks from today, we're going to have the lawman Kyle Kennedy in the spot that Disciple is in here. He says here, imagine Tommy loses to this outsider. Imagine if he does it. He has no right stepping in the ring again at Nonstop Action Wrestling. It would be an utter disgrace to our company. So basically, the lawman Kyle Kennedy is telling you, Disciple, that if Tommy Dillon basically loses to you, that he should never come back into Nonstop Action Wrestling, which I guess you would want to accomplish pretty much, correct?
Listen, it's just going to be one of those. It's going to be one of those. I know for a fact that Tommy will be in GTM. He'll be in Ensor. He has carried Ensor. He's been a brilliant new world-class champion for them, the very first. And if he gets a win over me, then obviously he can go to GTM as the double crown champ. But I don't think it's going to happen that way.
Yeah, I think, listen, the wild card Tommy Dillon's going to have his hands full, and he's going to certainly have his work cut out for him because, listen, it could very well have been the lawman Kyle Kennedy in this spot against you because he was actually, for a brief period there, the world-class champion. So maybe it should have been the lawman Kyle Kennedy. That is something we'll talk about with him once again on the 15th of December. Always love speaking with the lawman Kyle Kennedy, but I also love speaking with Disciple. And also, management from Nonstop Action Wrestling has reached out. They want to comment before we go here, and they want to tell you that we certainly wish you both the best of luck, gentlemen. So management here has responded. They have caught the interview, and they certainly have wished you luck, and I think that that's the best thing that they could do. Certainly they're going to have to call it down the line because you don't want to anger the champion. He is a champion, and he certainly very well should be and could be and will be, I believe, the GT Ministries and Nonstop Action Wrestling world-class champion, and that is Disciple. Champ, I know you're a busy man. I know you have a lot going on your plate, so obviously I want to give you the floor. I want to give you some closing thoughts. Anything you want to plug, share, say, or else? And also, GT Ministries has tuned in and says also wishing you luck as well. And the lawman wants to say it should have been me. We'll talk about that with him in 2 weeks. But floor is yours, my friend, and fire away.
Just again, want to thank you, Tom. I know you've got probably a little bit of stick for being a supporter of mine, but I really, really appreciate you giving me and a load of other guys the platform to, to get ourselves out there and promote ourselves. In terms of me, Disciple, follow me on Twitter at BTP_Disciple, Instagram at Disciple Wrestler, Facebook at Disciple Wrestling. I've got my merch on Big Cartel. And then I've got my YouTube channel, Disciple Wrestler. You can get all that stuff. You become a member of the Disciple Wrecking Crew. I don't know if you can see it back down there.
Oh, that shirt. Listen, that shirt could not see a better... you better join the Wrecking Crew, because he very well could have not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4. You know what? Let's not even stop. He could have all the titles in wrestling. Every single, listen, if you're KOW, you're the Kingdom of Wrestling, you're Wrestle Island, you're Nonstop Action Wrestling, you're GT Ministries, you're the LWF, the CCW, you name them all. Listen, this man right now, the condition that he's in, the shape he's in, the mood that he's angry. Listen, Alice Cooper famously sang, angry young man. He's not even an angry young man. He's just an angry man altogether. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Disciple. He is our next Nonstop Action Wrestling world-class champion and the GT Ministries champion as well. So the champ, go get him out there. Congratulations on all the success. I'm looking forward to speaking with you when you become Disciple 2 belts and just the beginning. And thank you as always. And we'll definitely speak with you, I am sure, after the nuclear winter. And
appreciate it,
go get him and keep up the good work. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we were here with Disciple, the reigning GT Ministries world champion, who's about to step foot in the ring in Nonstop Action Wrestling's nuclear winter in the main event against Tommy Dillon, the wild card. In the main event there for the World Class Championship, which Tommy Dillon holds in a title match. We will also be back here tomorrow night live with the LWF's The Scenario, Nathan Gunn, and Wildfire Nate Reese will speak about the LWF's Fightmare for Christmas. We'll also be back here next Thursday with coverage from Wrestling Warzone's Jacob Deese. We'll also have on here the Lawman Kyle Kennedy on the 15th of December. We'll also have Wrestling Championship Entertainment coverage on Monday, December 3rd, 11 o'clock Eastern Time with the Kodak Kid and Craven Rage. So a lot of wrestling coverage on the way. Also, we'll have an announcement tomorrow on the air regarding CCW's BMD for this Sunday. So a lot more coverage. Tune in to us anytime, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year on sportnarium.com/player. Also, like and follow us on Facebook at Sportzwire Radio. My name is the Reverend Tom Bryce. Disciple BTP_Disciple on Twitter. Disciple Wrestling on Facebook. Disciple Wrestling on Facebook. Also follow him on YouTube. Thank you, everybody. Good night. Here